Letting government workers off the tax hook. Democrats now want to exempt federal employees from their tax on generous health insurance benefits. They're already pushing to let unions skip out of their plan to raise $200 billion to help pay for health care reform. But is that fair to the rest of us? Hello, everybody. I'm Cheryl Casoni. Welcome to Cashin In. Our Cashin In crew this week: Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Hoenig, Jonas Max Ferris, along with Tracy Burns, and he's back, the one, the only, John Layfield. And also joining us this week from opednews.com, Steve Laser. Welcome to everybody. Okay, 2 Virginia Democrats pushing to exempt federal workers this week from their tax on Cadillac health plans. Is that fair, JBL, to the rest of us?
Absolutely not. Look, this is politics as usual. You wonder why the president's approval rating has dropped percentage-wise more than any other president in the past 50 years. The reason is you take out 16 million union employees, you take out 3 million federal employees. Out of an 80 to 85 million total workforce, you're taking 25% of the workforce out of paying taxes. Who's going to pay for this debacle? These guys are playing politics with this, just like they're playing politics with soldiers' lives in Afghanistan. I think you're seeing that in the poll numbers.
I tell you what, Steve, this screams special interest.
No, it's totally fair. And JB, to your point about the polls, the president's last couple of polls are on their way back up. But
it's like being the tallest midget at this point.
But I have to tell you, these type of exemptions are absolutely fair. If you look at the folks who are being exempted, unions, federal workers, these are all folks who have given up significant amounts of wage to get these Cadillac health care plans. And so to tax them then on top of that is just patently unfair.
But you know what? Hold on, though, Tracy. Wow. Tracy, it's not just federal employees. It's 20 million employees if you add it all up under what's being proposed now. We're talking firefighters, coal miners, union workers, and then now federal employees. Who's going to be left to be taxed on these Cadillac plans?
My mind is blown here. They deserve this break. What have they given up? What about the wealthier people that are getting taxed at 40% at the federal level, then again at their state level? They get real estate taxes. They basically take home 50% of anything they earn. You're saying that these hard-working capitalists don't deserve a break, but just because you happen to work for the government, you do. So the choice I made in my career determines my tax break? That makes no sense.
Well, they've already given it up. If you look job by job,
they made a decision.
If you look job by job, for folks in the federal government make less than the same jobs in the civilian sector.
I did not tell you to go out and become a firefighter. That was your choice. We all work and we serve a common goal. You should not be getting a better tax break than me just because you put out a fire and I happen to come to an office every day.
Jonathan, she's making a good point there.
Well, you know what? Listen, the whole idea of all these health care proposals, none of them are based on freedom. They're all based on force. And, Steve, I don't know. I don't understand what's fair about forcing you to pay into a system, but then exempting at the same time certain favored groups from that system. It's straight out of Animal Farm, right? Where all animals are equal, except some are just a little more equal than all the rest. But in this administration, essentially, you're expected to sacrifice for the Greens, for the poor, for the union workers, for federal employees, for the public good, which means whatever Barack Hussein Obama says it is at the time.
Steve?
Well, I have to, just to let you know, I'm one of these folks with one of these Cadillac health care plans. I'm not going to be exempt, and I don't see a problem with it. I'm willing to pay my fair share.
Then there's one left, Jonas. It's Steve. And but again, and this is just the beginning. These are just proposals being put out there. What's the next special interest group? Animals and their health insurance?
Just voters in general. That's the problem with trying to get a tax increase through. Everyone keeps getting all snippety about it. Okay, it's not fair. The fair has got nothing to do with it. Does it make sense? It does, because they're federal workers. What's the point of taxing them more? You're going to have to then pay them more with federal money. It's like there's no point. In fact, federal workers shouldn't have to pay tax. They should just pay them less, and it'd be a lot less paperwork because it's money going out from the federal government and coming back in on the IRS. Now, that doesn't speak to the unions and all those special interest groups because, frankly, this whole stomping out of the Cadillac plan thing by removing a tax exemption is a good idea because companies shouldn't be paying our health care anyway.
Well, companies should not be paying our health care?
No, we should be paying our own health care.
Well, oh, goodness gracious. All right, then, Wayne, you got to respond to that one.
No, I just think the whole thing is silly. You think about Congress in itself. They have their own clinic, for example, right outside the Congress. They can get their own health benefits any way they want to. They don't have to be in a plan that the rest of us have been. It's an elitist government who treats us like we're, you know, once you cross the Potomac River, you get a disease. And the disease is, I'm more important than anybody else in the world. The whole world revolves around me. Enough about me. Let's talk about me. You know, that's all they think about. They don't think about their constituency. These are people who are totally irresponsible. They're only interested in power. I mean, an example, look at Charlie Rangel now. He's being investigated. It's just one fiasco after another. You got to break it up and start all over.
Steve, I want to give you last word on this because, again, it goes back to the fairness issue. And if you get so many groups lining up saying, well, you can tax other Cadillac plans, but not my Cadillac plan, then what's the point of even pushing through a tax on a Cadillac plan at all?
Well, you know, again, I go back to the fact that these folks are making less of a wage. They knew that going in, and to come back on the back end and say now you have to pay a tax, that's not fair.
How about the fact that we got unemployment going over 10%, and they're not making anything? Who is going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for these unemployment benefits? Who's going to pay for all these social programs? Who's going to pay for this health care that they say is going to cost only $1 trillion? Who's going to pay for all these tax plans when you take 25% of the workforce out? They don't have to pay for it. That's the problem I have. This government is not responsible.
This whole notion that people deserve anything is a joke to me. You don't deserve anything. Go to work, pay your bills, stop complaining. That's it. I can't stand this whole notion that all these groups are coming up asking for handouts. We are an apathetic nation, and it's because of what's going on in D.C.
Our viewers deserve to not go anywhere. A lot more coming up on this show. The White House says that we are seeing the best of stimulus right now.